We've all heard about using other people's money to grow our wealth. What if I could show you how to use $1 million of the bank's money to accelerate your financial future for as little as $200 a month? Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. On today's episode of Breaking It Down, we're going to dig into exactly that. Leverage. It's the concept of using other people's money. Welcome back to another episode of Breaking It Down. My name's Scott McLean. I'll be your host. On today's episode, we're going to show you how you can use other people's money to accelerate your financial future. We have a very special guest on the show with us today who's using leverage with his clients all the time. He's doing it safely, and he's here to share with us how it works, how you can use it, and what it means for your financial future. Porter Shumway from Bright Advisor, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Scott. Glad to be back.
Awesome. Porter, I'm so glad to have you back on the show, and I'm super excited to learn how to use other people's money to grow my wealth. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got to say.
You should be excited. Hey, Robert Kiyosaki says leverage is power. There's a reason for that. I want to share one more quote with you I think is really important too. Grant Cardone says, rich people use debt to leverage investments and grow cash flows. Poor people use debt to buy things and make rich people richer. I think about that all the time when I'm trying to help my clients leverage. And so before we dive into how to do it, we need to first, I think, talk about what is leverage.
Hey, that sounds great. And I do hear all the time people using leverage in different ways to grow their wealth. And if you use it correctly and you use it properly, it can create tremendous wealth for you. If you use it incorrectly, it could wipe you out. So I'm hoping we've got some ways to kind of talk about that as well. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. What is leverage? What's your first point, and how does this work?
So leverage is when we use borrowed capital from somebody else, and we expect profits to be made that are greater than the interest that we pay on that. In terms of leverage itself, there's a myriad of things that we can leverage. But for our example, we're going to talk about borrowed capital. So that's what leverage is, and that's the goal, is to try and earn or out-earn what the interest is that we are being charged.
Okay, so let me see if I understand what you're saying. You're saying if you can borrow money from a bank at, let's say, 4%, and you can earn 7 or 8 or 9% or more on the money, then that's using leverage. You're getting money at a certain percent and you're earning more on it, and so you're getting that difference between the two.
Exactly, 100%. The whole concept behind this is that I can earn more money using somebody else's money plus my money, right? So I'm going to have my own money going to work for me. So if I can get somebody else's money involved and do just exactly what you described, that's a win.
You talked about that on your first quote with Robert Kiyosaki, and being in the financial education world that we're in, we're doing financial education videos all the time, and everyone's always asking me, well, what do you think about this guy, and what do you think about that guy? Dave Ramsey is on this side where he's saying live debt-free, don't use any borrowed money for anything, cut up your credit cards even, close your credit down. And then you've got Robert Kiyosaki, who you mentioned from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, who says leverage everything. And he's all about leveraging. If you can use a little bit of money to own a building, why would you put all your money in the building? And so he's using it all the time. So I'm very interested in what you have to share with us today. There are definitely financial experts on your side who say use leverage to accelerate wealth, and it's a way to get there quicker, faster, with less of your money. So how do I use it? How does it work?
Right. I think to your point, where you've got Dave Ramsey and Robert Kiyosaki on two different sides of the aisle, there's valid points on both sides, and it really boils down to how it's used, what you're asking. So the most common uses for it are people buying assets or businesses or real estate or margin. But if we're too careless with it, or if we get too high an interest rate and too risky an investment, we could find ourselves upside down or in a lot of trouble. And so what we try and do is help lead people down a path that's a lot safer, a lot more secure, but still gets the benefits of using somebody else's money. So how it's used is the most important part in leveraging.
You know, that's an interesting point. It occurs to me after hearing that you know, almost every American household at one point in their future, or a majority of them, use leverage without even knowing it. If you go to buy a home for your family, you're using your credit and your whatever to go to the bank and say, look, I've got 5% of the price of this house, or 10 or 20% of the price of this house. Can I put my money down as the collateral that you mentioned? And then they're giving me you know, $1 million home, or a $600,000 home, or a $200,000 home, depending on, you know, where you're at. And you didn't have to put all your money in. You only had to use a little bit, and you're getting access or owning that asset. And that asset's appreciating. So if you use a little bit of your money and that asset appreciates over 15 years and doubles in value, I get to keep all the doubling of the value. The bank doesn't even get to keep that. So that's great.
Exactly
I love
right.
it.
Yeah, and you mentioned collateral. That is a key part of getting leverage, right? You got to have credit, decent credit, because that dictates your interest rate that you're charged, and you need collateral. Nobody's going to lend you money without something in return, just in case, right? When we buy a
Yeah.
car or a house, you know, the car and the house becomes collateral long term. So these are things that you need to take into consideration when getting into leveraged money. But we have a strategy that we use that allows us to do that without all of the credit checks and without putting my house up as collateral, and leveraging in a much safer and secure environment, and still reaping the rewards of somebody else's money.
So early on this show, I mentioned, based on what you told me, that you could show me how someone with as little as $200 a month, you know, contributing to their own account, could have over $1 million of leveraged money from the bank in their account, helping them. That's like a 401k match on super steroids or something, if that's even possible. And I definitely want to know more and share more. But before we go there, you know, I was thinking, on the traditional brokerage account, anyone who's got an investment account at TD Ameritrade or one of the other brokerages, if they've got money in there, they can use margin, and you know, the brokerage gives them a little bit of extra money towards the money that they put in. And so if they've got $100,000 in there, they might be able to buy $120,000 worth of stock. But if the market goes down, they could, you know, be upside down and have to sell other stocks just to pay back that loan. Is that kind of what you're talking about, or is there something different?
Yeah, no, it's different. I mean, similar in that you're going to get extra money, right, to use or leverage without having to go through any credit checks, similarly like that, but without any of that risk, right? We're not terrified if the markets go down, that, oh, we're upside down in this leveraged account. In fact, it's a lot simpler than that. What we're going to do is we're going to borrow money from the lender, and we're going to put it back into a safe and secure compounding account. In this instance, we're going to use life insurance, because life insurance gives us guarantees that we're after and low interest loans. And so historically, if we can outperform that loan, which historically it does, hey, we're making money on somebody else's money. So to use your $200 a month example, if we get somebody at 20 years old and they put just $200 a month, by the time they retire, they will have over $1 million in leveraged money and between 1.3 and 1.5 million dollars of cash themselves that is liquid to them, that they can have for tax-free retirement. But this is only possible through leveraged money. So like what you're saying, if you think of that 401k on steroids, well, now we get this match money from the life insurance company instead of from an employer.
That's really actually pretty impressive, Porter, when you mention it like that. I'm curious if you happen to know, when you say they've got $1 million of leveraged money, a 20-year-old, do you know how much they contributed to their own account? Was that a number that we have?
I
That was
do,
like,
yeah.
you
So
could,
by that time, the amount of money that they would have totally contributed is $108,000 from age 20 to age 65. Their total contributions is $108,000. Their cash or nest egg, if you will, would be roughly, like I said, 1.3 to 1.5 million. And the amount of money that they will have leveraged from the life insurance company is about $1 million.
So when you say their cash value, their nest egg is 1.1 million, do they have to give that million back to the insurance company out of that $1 million nest egg?
No, they do not. So if you remember, we talked about collateral, and we can dive a lot deeper into this in another show or another episode, but just real quickly, every time that they get leveraged money from the life insurance company, the collateral has already been satisfied. So they are no longer on the hook, if you will, to pay that back.
That's incredible, Porter. You know, when you came on the show and you told me you could show me how I could have $1 million of the bank's money or the insurance company's money with as little as $200 a month, or $100,000, $108,000. I put $108,000 collateral over 30 years of my life, $200 a month, and the bank puts $1 million in my account. That sounded too good to be true, but you delivered. You showed me how it's done. I'm going to encourage anyone watching this video to schedule an appointment with you and to learn more from you on how that works. I'm guessing every person has their own scenario. That was a 20-year-old, so a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old could do this too?
Right.
Or?
Absolutely. I mean, it varies too on the amount. You're 20, 30, 40, $500 a month to up to $500,000 a year. The leveraging from the life insurance company remains consistent. And it is then returned into a safe, secure environment. So we're not afraid of the same types of risks that leveraging from a bank would give me.
Hey, if I can get a 401k match on steroids with minimal risk, no collateral other than my policy itself, my account itself, that sounds too good to be true, but it's not. And you're delivering it, and I love that. And so, again, thank you for bringing that on today's show. I look forward to learning more. We definitely have to bring you back on to dig deeper into this. For those of you that are watching the show that have questions about leverage or how it could work for you, I definitely will encourage you to reach out to the Bright Advisor team or to talk to Porter himself and to learn more. Again, awesome material, Porter. Thanks for being on the show. My name's Scott McLean. It's not what you make, it's what you do with what you make.